Welcome back to the Nano Dimension Bag Holders Club. But at this point, we're not even just holding a bag. We're like holding the inverse of a bag. For anyone that understands fundamental analysis and valuation measures, enterprise value is like the price tag of a company. And something fascinating has been happening with Nano Dimension. Their enterprise value is negative in the hundreds of millions. I'll jump into the exact figures in a second. But this is fascinating because it means that essentially, if you think about it this way, you go to a car dealership and the car dealer says, buy this car for $25,000. The price tag is $25,000 on this car. But in the trunk, there's $30,000 in cash. And so you think to yourself, wait, I can buy this car for $25,000 and there's $30,000 in cash in the car, so I'm actually getting paid $5,000 to buy this car. This deal sounds like a no-brainer, and this is what's happening with Nano Dimension stock. It has a ridiculous enterprise value, which is negative in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So let's discuss why that is. Is it that investors just aren't paying attention? Or maybe there is reason for it. And so if you say to yourself, what could possibly be the reason for someone paying you to potentially buy out a company? Well, first of all, it's a theoretical price tag. If someone actually goes to buy out the company, it's probably not going to sell at market price. It'll sell a lot higher because of all the buying pressure. The other thing is investors are pissed off, and this is NNDM's fault. They diluted the share price by a lot, and they did this over the past couple of years. They were diluting the price whenever there was a lot of buzz. All the YouTubers were ranting about it. I'm guilty as well. And there was just a lot of buzz about it. And so the price was going high. And the management of NNDM was like, why don't we use this to our advantage? Sell more stock. Put the cash on the balance sheets. But they have so much cash now. They have over $1 billion in cash. And I'll jump into it in a second. But aside from investors being pissed off, the business model as of now, it is questionable. I covered in past videos, I'm a 3D printing professional, and I am very skeptical of 3D printing business models because I know how difficult the machines are to maintain, to calibrate. There's a huge learning curve. It's not very easy to go ahead and hire staff and have them be very knowledgeable in how to maintain the machine, how to render the files, how to adapt the files, how to print, how to problem solve. Remember, they're 3D printing electronics, circuit boards. The materials that they're using, that's always a problem. Mass production, as far as 3D printing, it's not really feasible and it's not really financially reasonable. 3D printing is usually utilized in prototyping more so than just mass production. And so it begs the question, will people be willing to buy these giant dragonfly machines that cost a bazillion amount of dollars? And I would actually argue yes. There's a lot of use cases for it. One of them being like the military, governments. They don't want their chips being made somewhere in Taiwan or somewhere in Asia where God knows who can put whatever in the chip, whatever, tracing data, something to just store information, send it elsewhere. I mean, these chips, they're microscopic. And so you can put a lot in there and people don't want that. They want to control their supply chain. They want to be vertically integrated, especially if they're making chips for like a tank or an aircraft. They don't want to be outsourcing that to China, to Taiwan for obvious reasons. It's a safety concern. And so that's one thing. The other thing, obviously, is prototyping for sure. Is this something that's going to solve the chip shortage? The fact that we could just 3D print electronics? Absolutely not. That's just not how it works. And the product being created, I doubt it's as durable as other products. Like, does it work in the heat or in the extreme cold? If I throw it into a laptop, like this laptop right here, if I go ahead, I could take this somewhere where it's really cold or really hot. It'll take a lot to really damage what's inside. But a 3D printed circuit board, electronics, the electric dies, I'm not sure if that's the same case with Nano Dimension. And so it's something to definitely keep in mind. Now, Nano Dimension, they did promise, going back to the whole dilution thing, that they're not going to dilute anymore. And they are talking about the fact that they're going to use all this money in order to acquire companies and to integrate it into the business model. And so far, they've done a good job. DeepCube, NanoFabrica, this is all great companies. It's generating revenue, and it's a smart to integrate that into their business model. But right now, they need to make some tough decisions. They have over $1 billion in cash. The amount of cash they have can cover all their debt, and they could buy the company outright as far as market cap. And still, investors are like, nah, I don't want to invest in that. And I don't know why that is. I'm trying to figure out if I just don't know something. I mean, I follow the company really closely. Is there some sort of lawsuits brewing? Is the management inept? Is there maybe some history of them doing some funny business and people just don't trust it? I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think people are just overlooking NNDM. I think the growth sector is taking a massive hit. We're going to jump into the numbers, and I'll show you my thesis for why I think that this company is way undervalued. But I'm very curious on what you guys think. So definitely mention it in the comment section during the video, after the video, your thoughts, and maybe help me understand a little bit better, because the amount that it's in the red as far as enterprise value, it just honestly doesn't make sense to me. And I understand people say, yes, there's a lot of cash on the books, but it's not the same as buying that car with the trunk full of cash, even though it's a liquid asset. I mean, cash is as liquid as it gets. They have to take that cash, put it to good use. And maybe some are questioning, like, I don't know if they're going to put that cash to good use. They might burn through the cash or make some really bad acquisitions and mergers, or they might go ahead and maybe give a lot of bonuses to leadership, to the C-suite, and they don't really deserve it right now, or yada, yada. And I think maybe that's a part of the concern. But personally, I'm invested in NNDM, so I'm capped on bag holder right now. But I do feel like there's a lot of paths to generating a lot of buzz this upcoming year, and at least getting this price up from where it is right now. I don't see it going down any lower. I mean, it is below basement floor prices. It is like the core of the earth, like the mantle type prices right now. It's getting ridiculous. So without further ado, let's dive into the numbers, the meat potatoes of the video. Alright guys, so let's take a look here. If we go to ticker symbol NNDM trading on the NASDAQ exchange, and then you go over here to statistics under Yahoo Finance, you will see that their enterprise value is negative 271 million. Their market cap is over 1 billion, yet their enterprise value is negative 271 million. And this is because they have a tremendous amount of cash just sitting there on the books. Let's take a look. So if we scroll down here to the balance sheet, you'll see that their total cash sits at 1.39 billion, and that's why. Because they could take this cash, they could pay off all of their debts, and they could go ahead and afford their own market cap. However, this part can be misleading when looking at enterprise value, because the market cap, it is calculated by multiplying the current trading price multiplied by all of the outstanding shares available. However, remember that if you went to buy out all of NNDM, this price would skyrocket. This would probably jump to $5, $6, $7, if not closer to 10, because the buying pressure would be so high that it would go up quite a bit. But it is the theoretical value of a company is enterprise value. It is a price tag. And so I thought to myself, well, this is crazy. This doesn't make too much sense, because sure, if we look at the financials, the quarterly, the annual, it's a mess. But that is because NNDM has not even started executing on really their business plan that's at hand. Now they're doing a good job with the trajectory of where things are going as far as R&D, as far as putting out product. They purchased a couple of really good 3D printing companies, and they have a lot of money on the balance sheet to really execute the major plan. I've covered NNDM in a couple of videos. If you haven't watched those, please do take a look. But I thought to myself, listen, when looking at valuation, when looking at fundamental analysis, you have to compare it to companies in the same sector. So I went and I looked at 3D Systems Corporation, DDD,
right? Their enterprise value is 2.41 billion. Their market cap is 2.85 billion. It makes sense. However, we can also see that their price to sales, 4.32, price to book, 3.81, maybe a little bit high, but it makes sense. It is reasonable. Stratasys, SSYS on the NASDAQ exchange, also, their enterprise value is 1.13 billion. Their market cap is 1.63 billion. And their price to sales, price to book, it's digestible. If we look at NNDM and we take a look at their price to sales, which is 225, their price to book, which is 0.74, it's actually good. But this is something that we have to take into consideration, that the enterprise value is negative. You're basically getting paid 271 million if you wanted to just buy the company outright, if this trading price makes any sense whatsoever. I don't think it does. I think the price is so heavily discounted. I love the leadership team of Nano Dimension, and I don't understand what exactly I'm missing. Sure, I get it. For a company like NNDM, still a long ways away from executing on its goals. There's a lot of big question marks. Again, I'm a 3D printing professional. I'm very skeptical when it comes to these major companies making promises. However, 3D printing circuit boards, it's proved that it could do it. It is 3D printing electronics. This is very novel. There's a lot of use for it. There's a lot of use cases. It's going to be great as far as the security aspect, right? Governments, they don't want to buy their chips overseas from Taiwan, from Asia. They want something that they control. They want a team where they can develop a 3D printing rendering, a CAD design. They can go ahead and just print it, do it all in-house, be completely vertically integrated, not worry about supply chain being infiltrated, someone hacking something or putting in something that will collect sensitive data, send it elsewhere. There's a great business model here, very innovative company, but this just simply does not make sense to me. And I also know that since NNDM, the price was doing well and they sold a lot of more shares to raise more capital, raise more cash, and that did piss off investors. So maybe one of the reasons is that investors are just sitting on the sidelines saying, we don't trust you yet, show us something before we plow back in. But for the price to go this low, I sincerely don't understand it. I'm not pretending to be a know-it-all and understand everything that there is with fundamental analysis, but I sincerely think that this doesn't make sense. So tell me where my logic is wrong. Let me know in the comment section. What am I not understanding when it comes to NNDM's price being this low? Is it really like too disrespected, too heavily discounted? Or am I just not taking certain factors into account? Like maybe they're going to go and spend this money incorrectly, right? They're going to go and just give a lot of it as bonuses to the C-suite, or they're just going to buy some companies that aren't going to generate revenue. What are people thinking? Why is this the case? So interesting to me. I am very intrigued, very entertained, and very confused.
So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know if you feel like, the price is getting way too disrespected. It makes no sense. This is a good investment and it's going to go up from here. Or if you have a thesis for why the price is actually going to go much lower and this company is worthless and you don't think that it's worthy of an investment. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think of the Dragonfly. Is it just a distraction, or is it something they should keep pumping R&D into, better the product, and maybe do better marketing, and all of a sudden they will have more governments adopting the technology, more educational institutions. I mean, they have sold these units to governments, to educational institutions, and they are saying that the feedback is great, that the customers are very happy. Now, is that actually the case? We don't know. We're not reading the actual reviews. We're not, interviewing or hearing from the people that are utilizing the Dragonfly, but I sure hope it's the truth. I mean, I'm a fan of Yoav Stern. I would love to see this company do something great in the 3D printing space. As a 3D printing enthusiast, there's been a lot of promises throughout the years about the 3D printing industry. I mean, I was back in high school when I would hear the thing about You know, in a few years, if you're looking for a wrench, you won't need to go to Home Depot. Everyone will just have a 3D printer at home. You could click print and all of a sudden you'll have that wrench. But as I dived into 3D printing, as I started 3D printing for pediatric departments, as I ran educational workshops in libraries, academic institutions, I just realized this really isn't the case. We're really far away for it making sense for everyone to have a 3D printer at home. The learning curve way too high. You need to understand CAD. You need to understand how to integrate the files into the software so that the 3D printer can generate and print the files correctly. There's a lot of trial and error with the materials itself, and it's a process. It is great for prototyping. It may actually be great for something that is like really custom made or has to be like microscopically constructed, like the inside of a tablet. Some of the medication we use is actually 3D printed, and it makes sense. I mean, a person can't do that. Machinery probably can't handle it too well, but 3D printing machinery, you can really do surgically precise designs and print them. May make sense for that in the medical space, for certain procedures, surgical procedures, to scan something with an MRI, input it, generate a file, and then use that to 3D print and kind of just titanium parts or, you know, ligaments, whatever it may be. There's a lot of use cases in the medical space, but for something like the Dragonfly, it's a lofty goal, and I think a lot of time people just hear the buzzwords, innovative tech, 3D printing, you know, and they say, this has to be solid gold. This is so new. Who else is 3D printing, you know, electric boards or circuit boards? But the reality is it's not just having a novel idea and being able to show that it's possible. It's also, is there a market for it? Is there a way to generate revenue? Are enough people interested in it? Is this really a problem that people are seeking a solution to? And will a lot of people buy your product, be happy with your product, and is it a sustainable business model? As is right now, I'd say the answer is a giant no. However, with this over $1 billion, they can make some really big acquisitions. There's a lot of 3D printing companies out there that are below 1 billion in market cap that if Nano Dimension was to go ahead and acquire and buy, that would get very interesting from a competitive standpoint. And so I am very curious to see what's going to happen. Again, I'm a fan of NNDM. I'm championing NNDM. But as with anything, I approach it with skepticism, with a raised eyebrow. Nothing is a sure thing, and I don't think anything is ever a sure thing in the stock market, especially. And so definitely be wary, do a lot of research, and let me know in the comment section. Are you an investor in NNDM? Do you think it's going to go great? What are your thoughts? Did you enjoy this video? Should I never make videos again? Let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video.